Hello and welcome to Social Media for Humans, the podcast that empowers you to do social differently. Your host, Alexis Bushnell, and her guests discuss their experience of social media as business owners, users, and ultimately humans, with insights and advice to help you find an effective and ethical strategy that works for you. Grab yourself a drink and join the conversation.
Hello, welcome back. I am here with Stephanie. Wonderful Stephanie. Tell us who you are and what you do.
Hello, Alexis. I'm Stephanie McKenna. I run a company called Bowerbird Atelier. I recently pivoted to doing home and garden organization. So that's been really fun. I live in Oakland, California, Ohlone territory, and my pronouns are she, her.
So you wanted to talk about how you're using Instagram
Yeah,
with on and off times, basically.
Yeah, I think when you posed the question about social media, I realized I have been developing kind of a unique, well, I don't know, maybe other people do it, but I think I started it last year. I decided I really needed better boundaries around social media. Instagram is the only social media I use, really. So that's why I'm speaking of Instagram. But I decided that I didn't want to get off Instagram because I had done that before where I just was not on it for months. And I think especially with the pandemic, it's been really hard to be completely off because so much of our lives, or at least for me, so much of my life right now is happening virtually. And I'm not able to travel or hang out with people in person. And so Instagram has become this way to sort of like connect with my friends and see what they're up to. Cause also I feel like a lot of people are just overwhelmed and like don't really want to text sometimes. So it's almost easier energy wise for some people to just like post on Instagram and be like, this is what I'm doing. And then all their friends can be like, great, I know what you're up to. So I wanted to be off Instagram, but I didn't want to fully be off. So what I decided to start doing or experiment with last year is to use the moon cycle as a way to create some boundaries. Because I've been working with the moon personally for a while, and I really like the energy of the moon cycle in the sense of the new moon is sort of this reset time. I find it a time to like kind of go inwards, set the goals that I want for the next moon cycle, which is basically a month, 4 weeks. And then really just work on stuff like in my own little bubble. And then at the full moon, I come out and kind of announce or show what I've been working on. Sometimes I'll do launches around the full moon because the full moon's a very like extroverted outward energy. And so thinking about that and thinking about social media, I decided, what if I was off Instagram between the new moon and the full moon? And then the full moon becomes this like extroverted time to like get back on, post about what I've been up to, see what other people are doing, and sort of like finish out the cycle by being a little more social. And then the beginning of the cycle, when I'm not on Instagram, can be the time where I'm actually doing creative projects and not, like keeping my eyes on my own paper, sort of.
Yeah.
So,
That makes a lot of sense.
yeah. And I won't say I've been perfect. It's, I've been doing it for a year and I definitely cheat. So what I do is I delete the app from my phone, and that helps a lot to not have it in my pocket. But there will still be days where I'm on my computer and I'm like, I wonder what's happening. And I'll go to Instagram.com in the browser. But social media is designed, well, I don't know. I feel like it's designed to be more addictive on mobile. And so I find that if I go on in the browser during the period where I'm not supposed to be on it, I'm not on it for as long. And I also have been trying to recognize the serendipity in finding something. So what I mean is like I'll go on and I'll be scrolling and then something will pop up like a webinar or a really cool book or a podcast or something that I'm
Mhm.
interested in, and I'll be like, oh, this is why I felt like I needed to come on Instagram. It was like to see this thing. And so then I'll like sign up for the thing or put the book on my list, and then I'll close the browser window. So that's been
Mhm.
helpful to sort of like not feel shame around cheating, but more recognize that when I am on it during the period where I'm off of Instagram, it's
Mhm.
something will come up inevitably where I'm like, oh, this is why.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Have you found, I know like a lot of people who, whether they, if they take time off social media, whether it's by choice or whether it's just like life has got away from them, a lot of when they come back is like the algorithm hates me. I've been away, so I can't get any reach or engagement. It's that kind of discussion around it. And I'm wondering if you're doing it regularly, what do you find?
Yeah, so another part of this story is the pandemic kind of imploded my business. I was in the wedding industry and
Oh
events
wow.
ended abruptly in the spring of 2020. So, and I got to the point, I was very lucky. I was able to get on unemployment, which is
Mhm.
unheard of for self-employed people in the US. So,
Mhm.
very grateful for that. And so I found myself in this weird place where I was financially supported and also not feeling like hustling. Like the pandemic was just this intense trauma that we're all still going through, where I didn't feel like selling stuff. Like I tried a couple times in the beginning to be like, oh, let me like, I have a product line as well as wedding stationery. So I was like, oh, I'll like push my product line more. But even just posting about people buying stuff from me just didn't feel aligned in this time where we're all
Mhm.
going through this like insane cultural upheaval. So I sort of paused my business for a few years. And again, I feel really privileged to have been able to do that because I was on unemployment and my husband was on unemployment as well. And so last year, when I started the cycle of being off and on, I wasn't posting on my business account. So now that I am relaunching my business, I'm kind of decided to pivot. So I'm still self employed, but doing something else. I have started to kind of grapple with the algorithm in terms of wanting to maintain this boundary around being off Instagram, but trying to grow what's essentially a new business, even though I have
Mhm.
a pre existing Instagram following. The algorithm still, yeah, it prefers consistency. So
Mhm.
one of the things I've been doing is utilizing scheduling programs.
Mhm.
So I use Planoly, and
Oh yeah.
that has been really helpful. But when I was using Instagram for my business before the pandemic, Planoly was my BFF. Even though I didn't have boundaries around it, it was just nice to pre-schedule a bunch of things, at least like a week I would usually do, so that my time on Instagram could just be engaging and, looking at other people's things. I also, I have a personal and a business account, so a lot of my time on my Instagram is just personal time that's not related to my business. But yeah, so in building this new business, which I relaunched mid-December, so I've kind of spent the past few months starting to build and post about what I'm doing and like pivoting. It has been interesting. I think that first moon cycle after I launched, I did not get off Instagram because I was just like, I'm building this new thing. I like don't feel like I can't be on it. But now that I am through the launch, I have been really trying to get back into scheduling 2 weeks so that by the new moon, I can have content scheduled between the new and full moon. And I will say,
Mhm.
I try to post like every other day, I would say. And during that period where I'm off, it's probably more like every 3 or 4 days. So I'm definitely posting less scheduled
Mhm.
content than when I'm on the app. I think partly because when I'm posting, like when I know things are going up, I still feel called to monitor and see if there's people responding, if I need to like respond to a comment or something. And so I try to schedule less posts. So I am still being inconsistent during that time. But I'm trying not to like go dark for 2 weeks, at least on my business account. My personal, I don't care. I go dark and it's fine. But yeah, it is true that the algorithm really does not, well, I don't work for Instagram, but I feel like the algorithm does not support healthy boundaries and breaks from social media.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't force business owners. It is difficult.
Yeah.
My advice is always like, if you are going to take time off, when you come back, make sure that you are leading with a lot of engagement posts that are specifically designed for people to leave comments. Because that's what you need. You need the people who see your content when you come back, to engage with it, to say like, hey, Instagram, this is great content, people like this content, put it out there.
Totally.
And I think a lot of people make the mistake of, when they've been off for a little while for any reason, I've been away, people need to know that I you can buy this stuff from me, and I'm like, you don't do that, please don't do it. I get it, but don't do it.
Yeah.
Save it a little bit. Go with the engagement stuff first.
Yeah.
And I think it can feel difficult for people, because so many people get in this mindset of like, well, this is my work account, and so this is how I post on my work account. It's all going to be about and what I'm doing for work, and it all must be like this. And I'm like, but you're still like a human,
right?
Like, people still want to know about you as a person. People don't want to just scroll your feed and be like, sale stuff, buy my things, more buy my things. Like, that's not what people are following you for. They want to know about what you offer and why and stuff, but they want to know about your whole thing, not just like, here's the stuff I sell.
Totally. Yeah, and it's interesting to try to balance that as a business owner, especially I think because I do also have a personal account, and I've never done like cross-referencing of like who follows me on both. So I don't know, maybe no one is seeing both accounts. I'm sure there are some people, but it is funny when I post something on my personal account, I kind of forget that it could also be used, maybe shifted slightly for my business account and show some of my personal life. But yeah, it's true. That's the stuff that engages people. And I've also found that there are definitely some people that are like just on my Instagram for one type of content. And if I post something else, they leave and I'm like, okay, bye. Like that happened a lot when I stopped doing wedding stationery. There's obviously lots of people that followed me that are in the wedding world, and that's what they were there for. So when they realized I wasn't going to post anything about weddings anymore, they were like, oh, bye. And I was like, okay, bye. And that's fine.
I think that's, I was gonna say, I think that's fair enough. And I think that leads on to the point that like, not everybody is your people.
Yeah.
And it might be that there is no overlap at all between your personal and your business account, because the people who know you personally aren't interested in the stuff that you're doing business wise.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't say vice versa, but perhaps the people who are interested in your work are interested in you and how you interact with your work and how you interact, around that are, rather than who you are when you're hanging out with friends or stuff like that. And I think it's really important, because when I talk about putting out sort of intro posts and posts that are more get to know me, so many people feel like, oh, but I don't want to share my family days out or my mental breakdown or whatever is going on for me on my business account. Like, I don't want to put it out there. And I'm like, well, yeah, but there's other stuff going on in your life that you can share and you will feel comfortable sharing, but that isn't just about your work.
Yeah.
And there can be this confusion of like, people want this really firm distinction between like, this is personal stuff and this is business, but actually it's really not that clear. It's very fuzzy.
Well, and I think it's so true, especially as small business owners. You know, I don't run a corporation. I feel like that's very different, obviously, when you're not posting as yourself, you're posting as like Nestle or whatever. But I run a small business and like my name is on it. I don't have employees at this point, maybe someday. But people, I know when I buy from a small business, I buy from people that maybe I'm not friends with them, but like I feel like I could be their friend. Like we have similar values, you know, they like similar things. I feel like that idea of personality is so much more important when it comes to small business because people want to buy from people. Like that's why they're supporting small businesses versus corporations. So I think you're right, you know, maybe you're not sharing your mental health issues, but you're sharing that you love cake. You know, like my favorite thing on a Friday night is to get a slice of cake. And other people might be like, that's awesome. It has nothing to do with your business, but I like cake too.
Exactly. And it is so important to be able to, like you say, for small business owners, it's so important for people to be able to connect with you in that way and to see like, oh, you love this thing too. That's amazing. Now I like you even more, or I respect you even more because of this thing.
Yeah. I was also thinking about how powerful the Instagram stories, I don't know what you would call it, the Instagram stories thing, format. I really like stories when they came out with that because Instagram used, for all of us OG people, Instagram used to just be the grid. And so everything you post would like was permanent. It was like on your feed and on your grid, and it was part of your beautiful layout. And so I feel like I would agonize more over what I was posting back then because it was like on the grid and you had to delete it if you wanted to get rid of it. But now with stories and even reels where you don't even have to put them in your grid, I feel like there's even more opportunity to post content that's super personal, but that doesn't appear in your page if someone's just like, oh, let me check out their profile. So that's been fun for me where I'll post something unedited, you know, no filter or whatever in stories because I'm like, oh, this is like, it's only up for 24 hours and I can be a little more myself and a little more goofy and kind of like talk about my cats or something like that. And I found, I don't know, during the pandemic, there was so much social unrest too. And I had a lot of separation before the pandemic between my business and my political views. But I feel like, especially with stories now, like I will reshare content from accounts where I align with the value of, you know, whatever they're posting. And I think in the past, I would have been scared to be like, oh, I don't want to offend anyone. But now I'm just like, this is me. And it's really important that people who are supporting my business understand what I support. And I think it also helps to, again, like people want to buy from people that they like or that align with their values. So if I'm showing, hey, like these are my values and this is what I believe and these are my politics, that actually helps. I hope.
Yeah. No, I agree. And stories has been, especially like you say, through the social justice movements that happened over the pandemic, stories became a really powerful way to share that information and to share events and to push that information out there to people who maybe didn't really know what was going on or why it was going on or what the details of it were. So stories has been really, really incredible. And also for small business, just in the sense that it allows you to put yourself out there in a more casual way. It's not there forever. it's not a big deal if you've not done your makeup and hair that day, but you still want to pop on and be like, hey, how's things? You know, what are you doing today? It is that sort of chill vibe, if you will. And also, because of the sharing factor, it's made it a lot easier for other people to share small business content as well, which was, again, through the pandemic, massively powerful. Because, of course, so many small businesses struggled. So many businesses, full stop, struggled. And to have that option for people to show up for the businesses they love and share things and be like, look, they sell this amazing thing. You need it. It's incredible. I have it. Go buy it now. You know, that has been really powerful as well.
Yeah. And I was just thinking, going back to my breaks, part of what's been difficult about being off Instagram for 2 weeks has been the amount of up-to-date, urgent information that I've been getting from Instagram. And it has been slightly difficult to be away from that. So I will say that's another thing that I struggle with a little bit, because I don't subscribe to like a newspaper. I get some newsletters. I figure like if something crazy major happened, I would get texts, or I would, like, my husband would see about it. But it has been hard to feel like, oh, I'm not up on like what's happening in the world or what's happening locally, because I'm off for 2 weeks. So that has been another struggle, but I'm really trying to recognize the importance for myself of having boundaries, because if I'm able to take some time off to do the creative work that I want to do, that's ultimately going to serve the world better, hopefully, than me reposting something about like signing a petition. I mean, petitions are important, but if I can really take time to do the work that I want to do in the world without the social media distraction, that hopefully will make a bigger impact. But it is hard.
Yeah. No, I get that. I'm interested as well, when you come back from that sort of 2-week hermit period, do you feel more, I guess, able to really engage with that news and what's going on in the world? Because I find myself, and I know plenty of other people do, that when you kind of start the doom scrolling, essentially, and you're like, I need all the information, I need to know everything that is going on, I need to be up to date on everything all the time, you kind of lose the capacity to actually take action on those things, because you are just all in your head and it's just too much. Like there is always too much going on in the world. You can't know about everything. So I'm interested whether you find that after that break, when you start checking in again and see that news and see what's happening, if you feel more motivated and able to then take action on those things.
I think, yeah, because I'm rested in a sense. I mean, it's not like I'm taking a nap for 2 weeks, but I haven't had the bombardment of just thing after thing after thing. So when I come back, I definitely do feel more open to engaging or really taking in what's happening and where I can plug in. And I think another thing that has really helped me over the past few years is getting more local. And it's difficult because, right, like there's stuff happening everywhere. Everything is so urgent. Like it feels like really big. There's lots of people suffering all over the world. And I can't do anything. I don't have a ton of money. Like even if I have money, I'm just throwing money at a problem happening halfway across the world. Like there's not a lot that I can do across the world. But if a mutual aid organization in my neighborhood posts that they need toilet paper, like, yeah, I could bring them toilet, like I could physically do that. And so I think what has really helped me, because there's so much going on, is trying to narrow my sphere in the sense of like what I deem worth diving into, if that makes sense. Like I'm seeing global stuff, but I'm focusing on the more local things.
Yeah.
And obviously there's still tons happening locally that I can't affect everything locally, but at least if I'm narrowing my focus to more local things, I can feel like there's an opportunity for me to make more of an impact than just doom scrolling and be like, oh, it's so awful that that's happening, like, 5,000 miles away or whatever. I don't know. It just feels like there's not a lot you can do that far away, whereas local, you can.
Yeah. No, I do. I really do agree. And I think I think part of the problem with doom scrolling, outside of just the constant bombardment of misery, and that is, it's compounded by the fact that you feel hopeless and helpless, because you can donate to a charity, but that doesn't have direct impact way, like you say, like donating actual food or toilet rolls or something to somewhere local, in the way that giving some money to somebody who you see on the streets or something like that, it doesn't have the same impact. And so I do feel like your brain goes into just like, well, I can't do anything, everything is awful, and I can't do anything to fix it. And you kind of fall into that, what essentially becomes depression, because you are just constantly seeing all this awful stuff and you are unable to do anything about it. And so I definitely feel that it is really important to step away if you can completely. And if you feel like you are in that constant doom scrolling, oh my God, I need to know about everything, everything is awful, that sort of situation, stepping away completely can be incredibly terrifying, but also important, because you're not actually doing anything. And as much as sharing of information is really important, taking actual action to change things is much more so. And we can't be doing that if we are drowning ourselves in all the awful things that are happening.
Yeah, I think Robin Wall Kimmerer calls it despair paralysis. Or despair. I can't remember the quote. Maybe it's despair breeds paralysis. And I think about that a lot. Especially related to, doom scrolling. And you're totally right. I think it feels to our brain like we're making a difference or taking action when we repost something. And yes, sharing information is very important. A lot of things that go viral can change the world in some ways. And it's not really taking action. And so I think, I don't know, I think again, like narrowing down, we can't all do it all. And so finding your cause or your thing, and being aware of what's happening, but focusing on that thing that's your thing, whether that is like mutual aid or social justice or climate justice, or for me, it's been plants. And so, I'm aware of what's happening in the world, but I'm really focused in on what's happening within like food sovereignty and, soil and, agroecology, and where can I plug in that specific realm, because that's what I'm the most passionate about. Even though I care about all the things. I mean, we're all very empathic. I think the idea of saying like I'm an empath, I don't know. I think we all have a lot of empathy as human beings. And I think that's what makes doom scrolling really debilitating, because we're seeing all these things and we're feeling this despair for like what everyone's going through and what the earth is going through. And if we're all paralyzed from despair, bad things keep happening. So I think finding ways to do things offline based on what you see online is important.
Yeah. I think social media does have a role in the sense of it can be really make it really easy to find local projects and local communities and things you can get involved in, either online or offline, where you are taking more direct action, where you are actually making real change, whether that's providing like feedback to your local council or helping out, volunteering at a local charity, or even if it's just, I say just donating cash, but as opposed to time, you can find those things on social media, and also you can share those things on social media so that other people in your community then know about them. Because I do think we see a lot of the stuff that gets shared a lot on social media is the big charities, the people we already know about, the people who are already getting millions of pounds in donations. It's those people, and they do great work. That's fabulous. But when it comes to like the actual percentage of money that goes to the cause, the smaller the charity, the more money actually goes to whoever or whatever they are helping. And so if you do find those local charities and those local things that are happening and get involved in those, whether you're donating time or money or your audience or whatever it is, tends to have a much bigger impact than doing that for already very established sort of charities and things.
Yeah. And I think you're right. I mean, I definitely don't want to bash social media in terms of how amazing and magical it is when it comes to getting up-to-date information on your phone right away. I mean, again, mutual aid pops into my head. Like a mutual aid organization can post what they need this week, and you can see that and then respond to it, as opposed to them having like a, evergreen list on their website. So maybe they just always get tons of one thing, but then they never get, something farther down the list because people are just looking at the website. So if they can post on social media like, hey, we need this one thing really badly right now, and you can see that and respond to it, or spread the word and someone in your community has access to it, that is huge. So I agree that there are really powerful things about social media, and I'm glad that it exists for that reason. And it's also hard on our nervous systems and our psyches in a lot of ways. So having those boundaries so that you can still be engaging in ways that you want to be, but also taking time away to get out of that despair paralysis.
Yeah, definitely. And it's not just as well like the despair, it's also I think the things that so many things come up, like comparison, and also just all the different stresses of, oh well, this person is doing this and that was my idea but I've not actioned it yet, so now I can't action it, and stuff like that. Just so much stuff that comes up with people when they're scrolling social media, and many of us don't realize that like where our brain is going in those moments, and we just end up with this feeling of like, oh, I hate social media, which is what I hear a lot from people. It's just like, I hate social media, and I'm like, why? Well, it just makes me feel icky, and I'm like, but why
Yeah.
what is it? And it's being mindful of which accounts are you finding shift your experience from, I'm enjoying spending this time, I am connecting with people who care about the same things that I care about, I feel like I'm doing something proactive for my business, I'm enjoying this time, to everything is awful, I hate my job, I hate my life, I hate everything. Like, just noticing those moments, because you give your brain the time to slow down and breathe and get that distance.
Yeah. I think when you were speaking about that, I also realized there's another boundary that I've had for myself through Instagram that I found really helpful as a creative person who makes art. Because comparison is the killer of art in a lot of ways, or I've found that in my experience. Like you're saying, I have an idea and then I see that someone else did something similar, and I'm like, I can't do it anymore. Even though me doing it would be my own way, it would be unique. So something that I've been doing for a while is I actually don't follow anyone that does what I do. So when I was in the wedding industry, I didn't follow other stationery designers. And I know that there's this whole thing of like paying attention to trends and what's happening in your industry. And yeah, sure, I had a couple people that I became friends with, colleagues, if you will. And it was nice to support what they were doing because I physically knew them as a person. So there were exceptions where I would follow people in the industry because they were genuinely my friends and I wanted to, celebrate them and what they were up to. But I didn't follow like the top stationery designers that were my competition. And I don't believe in competition. I'm trying to embody abundance and there's enough work for everyone. But the comparison, even subconsciously, is so real when I would see a beautiful stationery design and be like, oh, what am I doing? That person is amazing. And like, who am I to be doing this? So I think I've found that as I've been transitioning into more of like the organizing, gardening realm, I definitely am trying to pay less attention to people that do that sort of work. And it's an interesting tightrope because it's like, yeah, you want to know what's happening. You want to know like what the cool new thing is in the industry. But especially as an artist, like following artists that do the same thing as you, I think actually maybe does more harm than good. And I think not seeing what they're doing and actually following people that do completely different things. Like I'm not a sculptor, and following people who do sculptures or ceramics, I find so inspiring. Or people who do like, I don't know, like beautiful acrylic paintings. I'm like, I can't do that, but seeing their work makes me think about work that I could make that's completely a different medium and maybe even completely different subject, but like getting that spark of inspiration from something that's not your industry at all, I think actually creates more interesting art.
Mm. Yeah. And actually, that is something that I recommend a lot. And like, I don't follow very many social media managers because, like, I just have the comparison is real. Like,
Yeah.
genuinely, they will post literally anything at all, and I'm like, oh, I am just awful at this. I don't know why I bother. I should just quit now. It's just not a great time. Would not recommend.
Yeah.
So,
And also what I love about Instagram is you can follow people and then mute them so that you don't see their posts. Because I think a lot of people, for example, I have a lot of friends where if I unfollowed them, that would be like a big bummer for our friendship. Like I wouldn't want them to think that I didn't support them. But maybe their content is not what I want to be seeing right now. So I can mute them and be like, I love you, but I don't need to see this right now. And so you're not like officially unfollowing them, but they're just not showing up in your feed. So I love that feature as well because it helps you kind of have more boundaries around that.
Yeah. It helps you manage the politics, if you will.
Yeah. Or even the comparison, like I definitely, again, I follow people that I physically know, but that also maybe do similar things to me or things as I do, like in a similar industry or make similar types of art. And yes, I want to support them and also no comparison. So just shut them down a little bit.
Yeah. It's interesting you say about the inspiration coming from different areas as well, because I think one of the most common problems people come up against, people so often are like, well, all my followers are other people who do what I do, and all the people I follow are just people who would do what I do.
Yeah.
And I think, well, yeah, because that's you're posting stuff which appears to be for people who do what you do, and all your hashtags are are being followed by other people who do what you do.
Yeah.
Like that is the problem. And really, if you're using social media as a business, you want to reach the people who want to buy your stuff, not I mean, it's great to network. It's great to have those connections, absolutely.
Yeah.
but the bulk of your audience needs to be people who actually want to work with you or buy your stuff.
Yeah.
They are going to be following different hashtags, and they are going to be hanging out in different circles, and they are going to be interested in different things. And I think it can be really helpful if you are in a specific niche that isn't just, say, like the wedding industry, but if it's a specific part of the wedding industry, to niche down and talk to around that topic.
Yeah.
So rather than just talking about, say, like plants, generally to talk about all the different aspects that tie into that, whether that's like weather or nature generally, or I know nothing about plants. Literally, I walk past and they wilt, but to sort of broaden your topic by niching your topic.
Totally.
Because then you're connecting to people on the topic as a whole and bringing people in with other things that they're interested in, but that are relevant. And you're not just connecting to more and more people who are all just in the same industry doing the same thing that you can compare yourself to.
Yeah.
And you can also then find that inspiration in those sort of adjacent areas, because you've not got the same comparison going on, because they're doing something different, but it's related. And you can follow their stuff and go, oh, I haven't done a post about that, but it would be really interesting, and I could make it like this, and then it would be really relevant to my audience and what I do. So I do think it is really valuable to be inspired by and by people in different industries, and also by a sort of broader array of genres.
Yeah. And I think that's another really good case for posting about who you are as a person, because everyone, I feel like most people are going to buy from many industries. But for example, like if I am looking to buy a cake, and then someone who makes cakes posts that they love cats and they made this like really cool cat cake, and I love cats. And I love that they posted that they love their cats, and also that they make cakes inspired by their cats. And like, that's the cake maker that I'm going to buy from, even if there's like 5 other people like also in the neighborhood. That's like a very random example, but I think the idea of bringing in people that aren't just in your industry, but that like are the people that would buy from you, like everyone is probably looking for what you sell. But if they can find someone that sells what you sell and also that aligns with their values or someone they would want to hang out with, then they're going to buy from you if you're that person for them. So I think that's definitely, I like what you're saying about posting around the thing, and also posting who you are, I think also is around the thing.
Yeah, definitely. And like you say, it gives people a chance to decide who they're going to go with, because it's not just about price. And sometimes it does come down to the price, but by and large, it isn't. It is about somebody sees something you've posted and they go, oh, you're just like me. You get me. We're going to be able to work together. You are the type of person who I want to support. I want your business to succeed.
Yeah.
It's not just about, oh, you've got the cheapest, whatever it is.
Well,
it's about like the whole person.
And I think that the idea of price, yes, people do shop based on price. And again, I've been personally trying to unhook from scarcity and capitalism, which is like a lifelong thing. But I do really believe when I see something where I really align with the person and the message, I'll find the money. Like if I'm like, this person is doing amazing work and I need this transformation or this product, like if it's $50 or $10 more than something comparable, I still so align with whatever their message is that like I will find a way to pay for it, whether I need to save up for it a few months or get on the waiting list or do a payment plan or something. But I really do think that like approaching business from like, oh, I have to be the cheapest, or I have to be like, I have to follow people in my industry so that I can be competitive in terms of pricing. I don't know if I believe that. Like, I think it's about like pricing how you need to price it to get paid, like to survive, and the amount of work or product that you want to produce, and then aligning your message with who you are and your values, and like really talking about what this thing will do for the people that you want to serve. And I think that's how people buy.
Mm. Mm. And you are right. And I think as well, people forget that, especially now with social media, even if somebody doesn't, if they love what you do and they're like, I can't afford you, the thought process generally is now, I can't afford you yet.
Yeah.
And so they will stay following you, they will join your email list, they will be checking you out regularly. And then when they are in a place that they can afford you, they are like banging on the door going, buy
Because
my
they're
money.
so
Buy
excited.
my
They're
money.
like,
Take my money.
they're like, I've been waiting. I've been
Exactly.
saving and I've been thinking about
Exactly.
this, and I have been following you. And yeah, I think it's like even more exciting than if you had been like, oh, okay, it's discounted 50%. Then it like, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. And I think obviously depending on what you offer, but especially
Yeah.
if you're selling something where that there is a time investment and an energy investment from the person buying it, I think it's powerful to have seen your content and been invested in it and been like, I really want to work with this person. I really want to buy this thing from this person. And so that when they do, they get to that point that they can, that energy is like, I have really worked to be able to do this, and I am so thrilled to finally be able to do it. And they really, really, really put the work in and get more out of it because of that. And I think people are so hung up, and this does come back to capitalism, they're so hung up with like, I've got to sell it now. If I don't sell it to them right now, they are never going to buy it from me. They're going to buy it from somebody else, and I'm never going to see them again. And that's
Right.
just so often not how it works.
Yeah.
There are times for sure that people need a thing and they need it now and they need it at the cheapest price for whatever reason. But there are so many other situations, I would argue the majority of situations, that they don't need it now.
Yeah.
They might need it, but it doesn't have to be right now. And they are invested in it being from somebody who they align with, from somebody who is ethical, from somebody who is doing good things. And we forget, I think, that in the age of social media, it is so much easier to be present in those people's lives while they get to that point. It's not the same as they walk down a high street
Yeah.
and think, oh, I really want to work with this person. And then they don't go past you because they were on holiday there.
Yeah.
You
No,
don't
I
live in
think
the same town.
that's so true, that the power of social media is also in relationships. And I think if we can come to social media from the idea of building relationships and the fact that relationships take time, you're right. Like, I mean, people have done business for many hundreds of years without social media. But the cool thing about social media is you're literally having conversations with people like for months or however long they follow you before they buy your product. Whereas in the past, they might have had to like, yeah, walk down the street and see, a sign or see an ad. And that's a very one-sided conversation, and it doesn't show the whole story, and it's not very personal, and it's very salesy. But on social media, we can show up authentically if we can feel authentic on social media. And yeah, just like be a real human and have a conversation that's really about why we stand behind what we do. And it builds this trust and this relationship with people who follow you where, yeah, maybe they're not buying now, but maybe in a year they will, maybe in 6 months. And I think that also has been something that I've been working with this new launch, is just again, the idea of scarcity, of like unhooking from, I need to sell a bunch of stuff right now. It's like, no, I'm okay. I'm okay financially. I'm very privileged to not be in a place where I'm desperate. And so I can build up these relationships about what I'm doing and trust that when I do need a sale, I'll have authentically shown up for these people enough that someone will be ready.
Yeah, no, it's true, and it really is about those relationships. And I think it's I want to say like relearning patience on both sides, because we have become very sort of instant gratification-y, I guess. And I think it is unlearning that, like you say, on both sides, both business owners not needing to put out say like cart open and expect all the sales immediately.
Yeah.
And also the consumers from thinking, right, okay, I need this thing, but I don't need it right now. I'm gonna find an ethical place to buy it. I'm gonna find somebody who aligns with my values, who I actually want to have my money to buy it from. And social media really has allowed for that, and I think that is possibly partly why we have seen such a shift towards more ethical businesses doing so well now, because social media has allowed for people to find businesses that align with their values that maybe aren't just down the road. So they might be a little bit further afield, but they are able to then financially support businesses that align with their values that maybe they weren't able to before.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think what you're saying about like we've become instantified, Instagram, yeah. I think it's also important to keep remembering that like social media was designed to make us feel that urgency, to make us feel like, to make our nervous systems into this like, oh, I have to like do this thing right. Like it's literally called Instantgram. Like it's not designed for slowness. It's not designed for intentionality. It's designed for like, click this thing, watch this video, like do the scroll. And I think it's really hard to like psychologically, it's doing something in our brains that like we don't really have a lot of control over. And so to consciously recognize what's happening and like pull back is an effort for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think also it's important to not feel like shame or guilt if you interact with Instagram in this way that's like very, oh, why do I feel like super high strung after I stop scrolling? It's like, well, because that's what it wants you to feel. It wants you to feel this like high, I don't know. That wasn't very well worded, but I want people to not feel shame about like, oh, I don't have boundaries and blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, because it's designed to be addictive and it's designed to not give you boundaries. And so it's something that I have been fighting against and consciously trying to set up. And I still fail. I still cheat.
Mm-hmm.
But that's okay, because it's serendipity when I cheat and I see something that I was supposed to see.
Yeah. What would you say? Have you got any like tips for people who want to try and step away, whether that is on a regular basis or they know they need to disconnect for even a few hours maybe, and they are in that like, I don't think I'll be able to do it. What if I cheat and I fail and then I judge myself because I'm useless and I can't even step away from social media? Like, what would you say to those people?
I think deleting the app has been a huge part of my boundary setting, because it's enough of a barrier to have to like re-download the app and sign back in. And even better if you could like erase the password from your phone, like not have it autofill. If you have to like go find your pass or like remember what it is, like, I think just giving you those few seconds of having to log back in to really realize what you're doing and be able to make a conscious decision of like, yes, I do want to get on, or, oh no, actually I was doing this out of default, but I can like step away and do something else. And I think that's true on the browser too, because I'm sure a lot of people are checking social media while they're at work and maybe they just like open a new tab. So even just logging out and again, like erasing the password so that it doesn't autofill, just that extra second of having to remember your password or log in can give you enough time to be like, do I really need to be doing this? And I try to make my passwords mantras.
Oh, that's a
Which
good
is
idea.
weird, but I think like I'm not going to tell you my passwords, but if you can think of a phrase or a string of words that help you remember why you want to step away from social media and make that your social media password. Like if you have to type that phrase in every time you want to go on Instagram or Facebook, like that is some psychology magic where you're like, oh, authenticity or whatever the phrase is, you're like, is it in alignment for me to like log into this app right now? I don't know. That those are some things that I do. And I will also say, just a plug for longer breaks, because I understand some people are like, oh, I just need a break for a few hours or for a day. When I take my breaks that are 2 weeks long, it takes me like probably 3 or maybe even 4 days to not be like picking up my phone, putting it down. Like I'm in that weird social media thing of like, wait, I want to be on Instagram. Oh, wait, I'm not on Instagram right now. And it takes my body like multiple days to really like unwind from that. And then probably like 4 or 5 days in, I will realize that I've gone like half a day without even thinking about Instagram. So I do want to put a plug for like, if you can take a slightly longer break than a few hours, like if you could take a few days or even a week, there is an interesting thing that happens where you'll want to be on for like the first few days. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I haven't thought about Instagram. And then by the end, you're like, I don't want to get back on there. Like it's always kind of a struggle for me to be like, it's the full moon. Do I want to get back on? And like ultimately I do because my friends are there and I want to post about what I'm up to and I'm an extrovert and I'm a Leo. I have a lot of Leo in my chart. So I'm like sharing what I'm doing. But they're definitely after 2 weeks, I'm like, do I though? So it is true that like it takes some time to detox.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it is definitely valuable to take a longer break. But if you are in a place where you are, you know you're going to find it really difficult, or you anticipate that you're going to find it really difficult, I do think it's good to build up taking breaks kind of like a muscle. So to say, like, if you are super on your phone and you are always on Instagram, it's totally fine to start with, I am going to take a break from Instagram for an hour.
Yeah.
You know, it is totally fine to start there because it's not just about the time away. Like you say, it's about giving yourself the ability to make a conscious choice.
Yeah. Well,
it's not just about the time. Sorry, Karen.
I don't use I'm on iPhone and I don't use the time things, but I know that iPhone has a lot of really cool built-in boundary settings now. So if you could even do that where you set time limits of like how long you're on the app, that I think is really helpful for a lot of people. And another thing I've done in the past is wear a watch. Because something that I used to find was every time I picked up my phone to check the time, 20 minutes would go by and then I'd be like, wait, what was I doing? I don't even know what time it is. I just like automatically touched the Instagram app and then started scrolling. So in the past, when I've had a lot of trouble unhooking, I started wearing a watch and then I could just check the time. And that was it. Not an Apple Watch, just like a regular old watch.
An analog watch.
An analog watch with a battery. Yeah.
Yeah. That is good tip. Good tip. Thank you very much for being here. It has been absolutely lovely to have you. Do tell us where we can find you.
So I'm on Instagram at BauerBirdAtelier, and I also have a website, BauerBirdAtelier.com. And that's basically it. I just hang out on Instagram. So come hang out with me.
Very cool. I will put the links in the show notes so people can find you very, very easily. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Alexis.
If you want more regular reminders to find your own way to use social media, follow Alexis on your social platform of choice. All the links will be in the show notes. Until next time, be a human.